Hand in hand, joined in a ring, 8 children dancing and singing as they dance. 7 girls and 1 boy make up the ring. Their faces look rather serious as their lips form the words of their song. They are intent on the steps of their dance, each guiding and supporting the other, holding hands tightly as they move from left to right and round again in their ever-changing circle. It is spring, with trees newly green and flowers sparkling in the lush grass beneath the children's feet. They are dancing in a meadow with a blue river below them and a blue sky above. There is a town by the river, and mountains in the distance capped with snow and gleaming with meltwater streams. This is Kinderreigen, children's dance, painted in 1872 by the German artist Hans Thoma. Hans Thoma was born into humble circumstances in 1839 in the village of Bernau in the Black Forest in southwest Germany. His father was a miller and local craftsman. He was apprenticed to a lithographer and then as a decorative painter to a clock and watchmaker, and in his own time he painted landscapes and portraits. In 1859 he became a student at the Karlsruhe Art School, where the landscape painter Johann Wilhelm Schirmer was an important influence. Thoma's work in the 1850s and 1860s was mainly Black Forest landscapes and genre art, concerned with homely, sometimes sentimental images of aspects of peasant life and rural culture. Thoma was at Karlsruhe until 1866, when he moved on to the Art Academy in Düsseldorf. He spent some time in France, where he met Gustave Courbet. As a painter already inclined to realism and concerned with the depiction of daily life, Thoma was readily influenced in both manner and subject matter by Courbet. During this period he was painting genre works and portraits in which French realist influence is very evident. But in the 1870s, Thoma's style was changing. He did not abandon his interest in pastoral landscape and genre scenes, but increasingly his work developed an expressionistic, idealistic, even spiritual dimension. This development in Thoma's art reflected a wider artistic context in which German art, following the establishment of the German Empire in 1871, was increasingly concerned with the exploration of German national identity and the establishment of an authentic German style of art. French influences in the wake of the Franco-Prussian War were seen as un-German, unpatriotic, potentially politically radical and socially subversive. Impressionism and naturalism were out. Neo-idealism was in. This change can be seen in the contrast between the Barbizon-influenced self-portrait Thoma painted in 1871 and a later self-portrait painted in 1875, Self-Portrait with Love and Death. This picture is laden with symbolism, love and death personified, the former one of Thoma's characteristically careworn cherubs, the latter wearing withered laurels upon his grinning skull and clawing at the painter's back. A butterfly flutters above the painter's head, symbolizing the beauty of art and the brevity of life. While retaining his preoccupation with pastoral nostalgia, and particularly with the Black Forest landscapes of his childhood, Thoma became increasingly identified with the misty, romantic German idealism and symbolism of the school of Arnold Böcklin and Max Klinger. It was a meeting with Böcklin in Munich in 1871 that caused him to reconsider and reject his former commitment to French-style realism, and this was strengthened by a period spent in Italy in the mid-1870s. In 1877 he left the major art centre of Munich for Frankfurt to devote himself to his art, remaining there through the 1880s and the 1890s, and gaining the reputation of an artistic sage or hermit, working in monk-like isolation, a devotee of a new and thoroughly German form of art. In 1890, the journalist, poet, and critic Otto Julius Bierbaum described him as follows: "He is a German poet, a German soul, a brooder, and a fabulist. A soul speaks, a mind expresses itself, a world-view is revealed. And, in its essence, it is entirely German, something calm, contemplative, inward. There is no pathos, storms hidden deep, no inner turmoil producing its demons. It is as if tamed. No sensual fire flickers and shimmers. All nature is chaste. So, he is fundamentally German, and, compared to other artists of today, he shows nothing of modernity." Kinderreigen is an early work in this process of transformation in Thoma's artistic style, but it is indicative of the changes that were underway. Kinderreigen is, at one level, a straightforward pastoral scene, a depiction of an event in the daily life of a village in the Black Forest, children dancing together in a ring in a field, a very old form of dance with origins in the distant past, surrounded by the beauties of the spring landscape, fresh grass, newly green trees, the pretty town beneath the hills, and the clean, fresh water of the river. All are conveyed in vibrant colours, vigorous brushstrokes, and crisp detail. The children's clothing, too, varied in type and character, and in colour and finish, evokes the simple joys of rural life, unaffected by the ugly commercialism and spiritual malaise of modern urbanized civilization. The symbolism here is of spring, fertility, and rebirth. Thoma made this more explicit in another version he painted of the same theme about 2 years later, Spring in the Mountains. Here the river and the town are absent, replaced by the mountains of the work's title. There are 9 children rather than 8, and 2 boys rather than 1, but there is a strong affinity between the 2 paintings in the details of the children's clothing and their grouping and poses. In the foreground, 2 lambs, one white and one black, are having a dance of their own, as are 2 butterflies, white flecks flickering over the grass near the circling children. Whereas in the 1872 Kinderreigen, the children dominate the canvas, here they are smaller and are themselves dominated by the landscape around them. And their dance now has a focus. They are circling a young tree bedecked with blossom, suggesting that they are not merely dancing for the sake of it, but taking part in some rite to pay homage to the forces of nature. The children of the earlier version are not dancing around a tree. They are simply dancing with each other amid the nature that surrounds them. Their clothes suggest families of different levels of wealth and status in the village, but here they are united, playing together hand in hand. They do appear rather unsmiling, seemingly taking what they are doing very seriously. Their hands interlock, but their gazes do not. They are each looking into the circle or at each other, with 2 exceptions. The young girl at the end looks directly out at us, the only one of the children to do so. Her mouth is open in song, but her expression is one of rather questioning anxiety. Perhaps she is worried that her friends will loosen their grip and the ring might break, leaving her to fall. But the girl on her right is clearly holding her hand tightly and leans in towards her as if to ask if she is all right and encourage her to enjoy the game. The other child to look out of the circle is also the most prominent of the figures, and also perhaps the oldest. She is dressed in simpler clothes than some of the other children, and her dark hair is plaited and tied. She is placed at the center of the canvas, her lower right leg precisely poised on the halfway point, so that she serves as an anchor, bringing stability to the whirling forces of the dance. She is half turning away from the others and looking out of the circle into the distance. She seems watchful, as if not merely playing with the other children, but taking responsibility for them. Directly opposite her in the ring is a girl who is her opposite in demeanor, with hair freely flowing and face wrapped in enjoyment of the game, completely caught up in the song and the dance. Her dark-haired counterpart is very different. She alone seems to be aware of the impending demands of the outside world, of the passing of time, of the fact that children grow up. Springtime is not forever. Games must end, and the ring must break.